video. Welcome back to the channel. It's Jonathan with Project Northeast. Welcome to another van build series episode. Today we're going to be taking this box of parts from Goal Zero, and we're going to be tying our Yeti 1500X into our customer connection points in our 2020 Ford Transit all-wheel drive, which are located on that side of the driver's side pedestal. Right, buddy?
Yeah.
So in the box, I've got a disconnect switch just so I can turn it on and off, so I can have a disconnect switch. I've got the updated Goal Zero Yeti Link module, which is updated for the X series, so I can put it in car mode and charge with my alternator. And I've got the cable, which comes with an inline EC8 ring terminal with an integral 80 amp fuse. Alright, before we get too far in this video, I just want to preface this and just to say that this is not a how-to video. This is just how I'm hooking it up, and I've talked with Ford engineers, and this is kind of how they said that you do it. I have the dual AGM batteries in my 2020 all-wheel drive Transit, and they said CCP2 would probably be the best for me to use, as I'm going to be using only alternating charging. I'm not going to be using solar or anything like that. So, disclaimer, not a how-to video. If you burn down your van by doing something in this video, not liable. So, just prefacing that. But anyway, so how I've been charging my Goal Zero now is I've actually been using this cigarette lighter charger that's been just running back along the floor, and that's been charging as I drive, and it's been powering my fridge back there, and it's been okay. But I'm definitely hoping this, with hooked directly to the alternator, is going to charge a lot better, a lot faster, because it limits me at about 120 watts right now, whether I'm at shore power with the approved Goal Zero charger or I'm on the cigarette lighter charger. It maxes like 120 watts input. So I'm hoping that the alternator charger with the Yeti Link is going to give me, you know, more than I need. Alright, so step one, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drill this hole. I'm going to drill a hole in this corner here and have this grommet go in there so that I can feed these through and have it come right out in the corner right here. And I'm going to have this connection inside the wall, which isn't a big deal because it's just going to be a upholstered panel here later that I can just take off with a few screws. So I'm going to have this connection inside the wall. So I'm just going to be using a 7/8 inch hole saw. And these, you can usually get these at electrical supply houses, or Home Depot carries them usually. They're just a little stud grommet with, you know, little teeth on there that keep them in. You drill a 7/8 hole and you just click them in right in. So to protect the cable, I'm just using this cable sleeve here. You can get it on Amazon. It's stretchy, and you just put the wires through it and gives it a little bit of protection, chafing and stuff like that. So here's the EC8 cable, all prepped with the connection ends and the splice. And this is the clamp installation, so the two cords go together, male and female. And then it's got this plate that goes around it like that, just to make sure you get a secure connection. And then I just put a tie wrap around there just so it's secure, so it never rattles loose or anything like that and, you know, comes apart. So I'm going to be feeding that through the wall on the bottom there. I got my hole drill with my grommet. I'm going to be bringing this end through there, and then the other end, this end, will go to the back of the Yeti Link in the Goal Zero itself. Alright, so I got pretty much everything roughed in, kind of. I got my ground going just right there to the 6mm stud on the emergency brake mount. And then I've got the 80 amp fuse in line, and then the disconnect switch. So I'm just going to be putting this and kind of mounting it here below the pedestal of the seat. And my plan is to, you know, put a piece of plexiglass like right here, just to kind of protect all this stuff and have it secure so the kids aren't kicking it, stuff like that. Alright, so I got everything mounted underneath the pedestal here. I got the fuse right here, and I've got the disconnect switch over there. I got the ground tied on to the brake mount. It's just a 6mm nut on there. And then the line side of the disconnect switch is here, which that'll go right onto this customer connection over here. It's not live right now, so I can put it on there. That'll go on right like that. That's a 8mm, 6mm and 8mm. It's CCP1 and CCP2. So I'll leave that off for now. So that's my line side right there, and that's coming down to the disconnect switch first, and then from there going to the fuse block, and then from the fuse block it's going through the wall to the cord back to the goal zero. So I got these secured here just with a couple tie wraps, screw-on tie wraps, and then I'm going to put some sticky back mounts in here to mount the cable so it's not rattling around or like that. And then we'll work on the goal zero. So I got the cable run from over there through the wall, and this is where my goal zero is going to be, is basically right here behind the back seat. I'm going to have everything wired to this point. So now I'm going to install the Yeti Link module right there into my 1500X. So it's going to be installed right here, and I'm just going to take these screws out on the right side of the unit, and I think I gotta pull this out. Yep, it's hard to do this one on one hand, but you basically pull this out or push it to the back side, shut that, pull it out, and there you have the connection right there, the power portion and the smart circuit for the Link. So you're going to want to read the instruction manual that comes with the Yeti Link. This is what I came with mine. So it said to turn off all the outputs, which all my outputs are off, and it also says to take out any charging inputs you have, which I'm completely unplugged. And then it says to plug it into place. So I got the cables plugged in, as you can see, smart cable and the other cable. This cable goes in pretty hard, so you have to use like 2 thumbs, like thumbnails, and like really press this in there and make sure it gets a good connection. And then the cables kind of fold underneath that little section right there and kind of go down like that, and then you gotta like screw it on. But it also comes with this little like cable lock mechanism here, which goes onto the back here. I think this goes like this. There's a couple little holes on the bottom that it kind of like fits around the rubber grommets, as you can see probably on the bottom here. And then that kind of sits in there, and the screws go through and kind of push it back. Make sure the cables are folded under there nicely, which if I lift this up I can see that they are. So then I'll screw it down with the provided little screws that it comes with. So I got the Link installed. This is the back side of it, and then I got the cable here. And the way this lock system works is, it looks like you plug this in really good, and then it's got this connector for the 90°, and it just kind of slides in the end here and kind of clicks into place. And it's kind of nice because it securely holds your cable, so it doesn't back out on its own vibration or whatever. So that's kind of nice. Alright, so vehicle mode, it says I have to switch it. Press the reset button on the top, pinhole reset. So it looks like it's right there. You press that 4 times to take it from tank mode. It says in the instruction manual that it's in tank mode. Yeah, it says all links come standard set in tank mode. So I gotta do that then, I guess. Find something small enough to go in that hole now. Alright, let's try this. I got a spoke, so that should fit. 1, 2, 3, 4. All 4 lights are blinking. Okay, so it says indicator lights will turn on and blink together when the link is successfully placed in vehicle mode. Alright, last thing, I'm going to connect the cable up front and give her a go. So we got everything installed. I built a little kind of a plexiglass little shield right there. So I've got everything tied in there, mounted nicely behind the driver's seat, and I've got it charging off of customer connection 2, and it seems to be working pretty good. Charges it, but it's been 90 degrees recently, and the fridge really draws a lot of power and constantly runs. I guess that's the problem, you know, you get when you buy a cheap fridge. It's not really insulated very well, so it's using a lot of the power. And also, one thing that I ran into, and I've already talked to Goal Zero about this, is that the charge input when the truck is on, like you can see all the lights on the Yeti Link are lit up here, but I'm not getting any input power when the engine's running. It's not giving me any input wattage. Even though I can see the percentage go up over time as I drive, I'm not getting that input wattage. And they said it's a firmware issue, and basically they instructed me to ship it back, which is a huge bummer because, you know, who wants to be without their van power supply? But I'm going on vacation, and it's the perfect opportunity for me to send it out. I told them, I'm like, well, I got camp trips already scheduled for like the next weekends, so I'm not really stopping those. So I told them I'd send it back after those are done. So that is the next step. I gotta send this out so that I can see my input wattage from here. And also I'm in talks with Ford Engineering on the CCP connections, whether it seems to be limiting my input, not giving me the full potential of that 175 amp circuit that it's supposed to be on CCP2. So what I'm thinking is either my battery voltage is dropping, or it's got a protective relay, or it's load shedding, which is, Ford Engineering did say it would load shed, but I'm really not impressed with that so far. So I'm kind of chatting back and forth with them. I mean, in my estimates, I mean, I should be able to put 600 watts into this through the Yeti Link. My calculations may be off, but I'm not getting nearly that much input. I can tell, even by not having the wattage on the screen, I know I'm not getting that just based on how quickly I've been able to charge it with 120 watts input via the cigarette lighter charger or something like that, or even the AC charger. So basically what I've been still having to do is, it charges while I drive, but I'm also having to supplement and charge with the AC charger and leave it plugged in because I don't have a solar set up yet. So that's kind of a bummer, but it'll be to be continued. We'll see what comes of it, see if I can get it figured out with Ford Engineering and Goal Zero, but it'll be a few weeks at least before I get this back and the saga is over with and we get this figured out. So I'll update this when it comes back and we'll see what happens. All right, so fast forward, it's a year later since I recorded that video, installed my Goal Zero, and had the issues that I was having. Long story short, I'll go through it real quick. I sent the Goal Zero back straight to Goal Zero, the Yeti straight back to Goal Zero. They gave me back a, updated refirmware version. Everything worked great, put it in. I saw 700 watts of charge coming directly from the alternator from the CCP2, which was the 175 amp connection on the transit van. And then what happened was, after my battery voltage came up, because it was a little low because I was running my fridge and accessories off of the vehicle batteries, after that initial charge of, you know, charging the Goal Zero off the alternator and then everything coming back up to the battery voltages were at their optimum voltage of like 12.5 or something like that, I ran into the other issue of what's with the Ford Transits have a smart alternator. And what that means is if the battery voltage is satisfied, then the smart alternator will shut off. So what the Ford smart alternator was doing was regulating the voltage. It would basically go to 14.4 volts, which is what you want for a lithium ion charge circuit. But then it would show that the battery voltage was at 12.5, 13, and it would just kick out. So you'd have a charge profile that looked like this. On, off, on, off, on, off, and it would just shut itself off. So you basically get 700 watts, 0. Then it would climb to 700 watts, 0. So you would never get a consistent charge into the Yeti. So then comes in the issue that you've probably researched online with the Ford Transits, is what you need to enable is the third-party high power mode. Talking back and forth with Ford engineering, came to the conclusion that I need to enable third-party high power mode on my van, and it bypasses the smart alternator and charges all the time. But what that does is, you know, a lot of people were saying, oh, you can just shut the auto start off and it does that. It doesn't. So what I had to do is actually talk to Ford engineering, and there's a couple pins that you basically have to short out. You basically can put a switch on them so you can turn on high power mode. But what Ford engineering told me is you don't want to have that enabled all the time. You only want to do that when you're on long drives or something like that, where you want to get that full charge out of your system. So basically, because, you know, if you don't have the programmable relay in your van, you can just simply go into the pins. You can talk right to Ford engineering. They'll send you the piece of paper that tells you what pins to put the switch to, and then you can just switch it, no problem. I can probably find the document and link it to the side of the video right here. You may have trouble seeing it, but long story short, on my van, I have the programmable relay installed. So that means I don't have the open pin connectors. I have a male and a female that goes to the, and then follows through the circuits to the programmable relay. So what I had to do is something a little bit more funky. I won't go into it for warranty issues. I didn't void any of the warranties, but basically what I had to do is interrupt the circuit without modifying the, you know, the actual wiring harness. So basically what I had to do is still put in that switch on those two conductors to make third-party high power mode. And I'll show you exactly what I had to do with that right now. All right, so enabling third-party high power mode, I'm going to show you what I got here. I've got the 10-way connector that's underneath the seat pedestal, driver's side, front corner, that's attached down there. And I got the purple wire, which is technically pin 3. I've got that kind of, this new wire tagged on, going over to one side of my switch, and the other side is going to go to my ground right there. And that, shorting that out, is going to enable third-party high power mode so I can get full charging. Coming to the van, I'll show you right here is where I mounted my third-party high power mode switch. And it's simply just a switch, turn it on when you're driving for a long drive, and you can link to the Goal Zero Yeti app, and I can see on my charge profile that I have a full 700 watts going from the alternator consistently and constantly to the Goal Zero, charging it, and it charges really fast. And then when I stop, or sometimes, you know, I just hit this, shut it off, and now it's back to normal and the smart alternator will be engaged. But sometimes I forgot to leave that on. not a big deal. I've left it on before in the past and nothing really happened. So not a big deal. So basically this video took over a year and a half to figure out. You know, a lot of people figured it out faster than I did. I mean, I did have it figured out, but I've just been really putting off, and I've been really bad at finishing these van build videos because it's not necessarily the feature of my channel. But I wanted to follow up with it because, you know, you may be having the same struggles as I am. You may have like a 2020 Transit or above that you're looking to do these type of things with, and I can honestly say the Goal Zero Yeti has been probably one of the best things I've put in my van. It's just, it works. It works great. It works awesome. And it just works consistently. And it was pretty easy to hook up, as you can see from this video. It was just a few things that I had to deal with because the Yeti Link was just coming out with its new firmware when I was looking to do this with the X series. And then also working with Ford Engineering, and all the documents that I could find online were different because I had the programmable relay in my van. So that's it. I'm doing some exciting things with the van. I got a new rack, a new bike rack. I'm gonna be building a roof rack out of extruded aluminum. I've got a rooftop tent coming, and I've got how-to videos on all that stuff that I'm gonna be doing. Those won't be out for a while because I'm actually designing the rack right now and purchasing everything. I have the rooftop tent, that's gonna be coming. And then I've got other videos of how I finish the inside coming as well. And then, you know, later on this summer, I'll do a full tour of the van and show you everything it has, and we'll have, in the end, sleeping for 5 people. So I've actually bought a daily driver, and this is going to be turned into more of our adventure camper type rig. Well, that's it for now. Hit that like, hit the subscribe button. If you want to support the channel and you appreciate the stuff that I've done, I don't ever have any affiliates linked to my build videos or anything like that. If you want to know any of the materials I use, I'll tell you. But if you want to support the channel, head over to my Patreon. Show some love. Any support is greatly appreciated. Thank you.